Yeah. So the question is, how do you determine the cost to operate a gas oven? Now, so oh God, how's the best way to preface this? So let me preface this by saying when I talk fuel for operating an oven, you're obviously looking at natural gas or propane. And when you're determining your cost, let's assume you haven't purchased yet. I just want to touch on this because this is a common misconception. So if you haven't purchased an oven yet and you're trying to decide natural gas or propane, everybody gets hung up on the fact that that propane costs more than natural gas, and per cubic foot, that is true. Propane does cost more, but propane burns hotter. So at the end of the day, so you use less propane to accomplish the same thing that you do with natural gas. So at the end of the day, your bill, how much you're going to actually spend out of pocket, is going to be fairly, it's going to be fairly close. The big, I guess the big decision you've got to make is if you already got gas, if you already have gas in the building and you're not going to have to change meters or do anything like that, then heck, go with the natural gas, right? But if you're, because you don't have to refill it as with propane. So, but if you're going to have to put in a meter, run a lot of gas line or whatever, it may be more cost effective to go propane. Anyway, that was my little diatribe before answering the real question. So the real question was, how do I determine fuel cost, what my oven is going to cost to run? This is where people get, I don't want to say bait and switched, where people get confused when they start buying some ovens that are very inexpensive, right? And when you look at those ovens that are, let's call a spade a spade. Nobody's oven has anything special that nobody else's doesn't really have. If it did, everybody would steal the technology. So they're a box that gets hot, and then the only thing that really changes is what gets it hot, how the burner is set up, what gets it hot, and then what moves the air. If you're putting recirculation fans, which by law you have to have if it's a powder coat oven, an exhaust fan, which by law you have to have if it is if it's a powder coat oven. If you've got some of the guys online that were selling ovens dropped the name powder coat from the front of them, they weren't putting exhaust fans on it, and some of those guys started getting in trouble. You have to have that. But when you start looking at these things, the burner size is very important, as is the recirc fan size, and I'll talk about that one shortly because I'm getting off topic. So what is the cost? So basically, if you look at the BTUs of the burner of your oven, and let's say it's a 500,000 BTU burner. What that means is that burner can burn no more than 500,000 BTUs per hour. So that's max. If it's wide open, if you think about it like a car, if it's on the floorboard, that's all that it can do. 1 million BTUs is equal to about 33,000 cubic feet of natural gas and about 11 gallons of propane. I know somebody out there is going to have some, well, exactly what it exactly says online is so I'm just roundabout. It's about 33,000 cubic feet of natural gas and about 11 gallons of propane, which means that at the most that a 1 million BTU burner, that's the most it could burn. Here's where that gets interesting. And here's where you have to be careful when you are purchasing something. If you have oven A that is a $30,000 oven and oven B is a $40,000 oven, $10,000 difference, right? Jump on the one that's less expensive, correct? Not necessarily, because let's say oven A costs $20 an hour to run and oven B costs $5 an hour to run, all because of the burner and the turn down ratio and the fan size and all the engineering things that go into it. At $15 an hour at 8 hours a day, hell, that's what, $120 a day? That's what, $600 a week, 600 times $50, $30,000 in a year. that right? Did I do that right? Yeah, 52 weeks times 600. Yeah, that's like 30 grand a year, something like that. Like, dude, you just bought a whole nother oven. Like, so cost to operate, it's not just the price tag on the front end, it's the cost to operate. So you got to keep all that in mind as you go along as well. That's, that's just one of the kickers to it that, where I think a lot of people kind of don't, kind of get lost.